Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Lauren Atkins. I am the founder of NYC Web Fest. A little bit about myself. First of all, this is the 8th annual NYC Web Fest, and it's the first time I'm actually moderating a panel. So say a prayer for me. But one thing I will say is, for those of you who don't know, I was born in Cape Town, South Africa, and I grew up in Toronto, Canada. And then I went on to New York City and started the first festival of its kind, a festival that was just in the beginning web series based. And then we expanded to short films and pilot episodes. So bear with me. I'm doing tech. You should see. I wish I had a picture right now of all of the different chords so that the lighting looks good. And plus, I have what the Endavo stream says, so if people ask questions there, I can bring it back. And I have my notes like a journalist to interview my subjects. But little by little, I'm going to start bringing everybody in. Just so you guys know, to mute your mics when you're not speaking, it can get hectic when there's a lot of people on stage. But yeah, I'm going to start slowly bringing people in. Hi, Phil. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
Hi, Josiane. Hi, Danny. Hi, Ben. Is that everybody? Let me see. That's backstage. I think Lou is still going to be coming in. But anyway, so what I will do is everyone's screen the same, like is Phil beside me and Ben beneath me. Oh, there's Lou now. Let me add him. Everyone's screen is the same, right? Just so I don't know where Lou. Yeah, okay. So why don't we start with everybody? Phil, if we can start with you and then go to Jonathan and Josiane and then down to Danny. Just if everybody could introduce themselves and also just let us know which project you're screening here at NYC Web Fest and maybe even a little line or two about the project. And just if everybody else could just mute while other people are speaking just so that there's no feedback. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Bienvenue.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my name's Phil. I'm here in Toronto right now, and the project is Short Term Sentence. Yeah, it's a web series about kind of an odd couple friendship. Classic fuddy-duddy guy, and crazy guy moves in, and then shenanigans ensue, sort of thing. So that's our series.
Jonathan, you go ahead. Just make sure your mic is unmuted.
Yep. Hi, I'm Jonathan Fournier. I'm from Montreal, Quebec. My show in the festival is called Unicorn Included. It's a buddy comedy about me moving into a condo and having to live with this feisty unicorn. And hilarity ensues.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm not sure. I think Lou is still tuning in. So Ben, we'll skip ahead to you.
Hi, I'm the writer, director, and co-producer of the series Just the Two of Us. That's officially selected to the festival. It's a series about a road trip between two friends, and with the thin line between friendship and love that you see through a thriller during the 8th episode of the second season. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Danny. I use they, them pronouns. I wrote, directed, and edited the web series You Hauling. It's about Iris, who is kicked out of her apartment by her girlfriend, and then she has to find some place to live while she unwinds from the whole experience. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much. Just bear with me. I'm going to try to I think Josiane got kicked out, so let me re-add her. Hi, welcome. So everyone just introduce themselves. So I will let you go ahead, Josiane. If you could just introduce yourself and just let everybody know which project you're screening at this year's festival.
For sure. My name is Josiane. I'm based in Toronto. I'm the director of Hogtown. which is screening at the festival this year.
Yeah. So even though this is a panel that's for Canadian creators, one of the reasons I wanted to do it, obviously, you know, I am Canadian, and the festival has been going now for 8 years. And Ben, I think, has been in the festival. I think you were in the festival in the first year, right? I don't even remember the name of the series, but I feel like I've known your name forever. You might be one of my favorite Canadians. I don't know, of all time. It's so funny. You always remember sort of when you start something new like this, you always remember the people that supported you first or that pissed you off first. Like if somebody irritated me with a festival 2 years ago, I don't remember. I just remember the people that were mean to the baby when I first gave birth to it, and the people that were nice to it. So I always appreciate that. I appreciate you guys, Ben, you for coming back and being supportive. And you came to the festival 1 year too, which was nice to finally meet you. But one of the things about this panel that's so interesting is that even though it's specific for Canadian filmmakers, this particular panel represents sort of what this type of medium has done for creators. So, you know, when I started the festival, I mean, there weren't a lot of people on television that were part of the LGBT community, disabled, a woman. Like it really opened the doors, I think, more than people give it credit for. And I also credit Canada for being ahead of its time in supporting creators in that medium. So I was sitting at LA Web Fest in 2013, and those of us that flew in early, I had a project that was screening there. They had like a dinner the night before the film festival started, and we had to buy tickets. And it was just like this big like ballroom. It was very vast. But of course, I ended up sitting at a table with just Canadians, except for one girl who was from New York, and that was it. And that from that meeting, several festivals were born. Like TO Web Fest started after that. I believe Vancouver Web Fest started after that. Montreal, like several started in Canada first, even before it really took off in the States. And I just wanted to speak to you guys about your experiences doing this. I know some of you have worked in advertising, different mediums. And Jonathan, if I could start with you, I think that you said this, according to your bio, this is your first series. Is that correct? And you were working more in the theater sector in Montreal?
Yes, exactly. I've been doing theater in Montreal since 2010 about, and this is the first thing I've had produced for a screen.
Hi, Lou. Welcome. Jonathan, I'm going to come back to what you just said in a second. Lou, I was just wondering if you could introduce yourself and the project that is in this year's festival.
Yeah, sure. Sorry for the technical difficulties, and nice to meet you all, everybody. My name is Lou. I'm from Saint Laurent TV, and the project that was submitted to the NY Web Fest this year is called La Loi c'est la Loi, which stands for The Law is the Law. And it's kind of a comedy which demonstrate in some like funny ways on many levels basically everything that's wrong with police forces in Montreal, as far as how they are sometimes limited intellectually, or how they are limited in their way of intervening in some situations that they don't grasp or understand in the first place.
Thank you for that. And Lou's company won Best Web Series in 2018, was that? No, 2019, the last time we were live. And last year, I believe you guys won, was it Best Foreign, several awards. Best Foreign Language, I know was one of them. And and Juliette won for cinematography last year, and she's nominated again for Ben's show. So how many of you know each other here? Is it just Lou and Ben, or do any of you know each other? No? Phil's looking like I don't know these people.
I
How dare
only
you?
know Lou.
Oh, okay, okay. Have you guys worked together before, or no? You just know each other through the community?
Not
To
yet.
the festival. I actually met Lou at your festival in New York.
Oh, that's so funny because there's pictures of us all together on the red carpet like family,
Yeah,
which we now are, which is kind of
Family.
cool.
we became one from that day on.
We really did. We really did. And what's so cool about this year's festival is that I know obviously I'm meeting some of you for the first time, but many of the people that are in this year's festival have been in previous years, 2017, 2018, 2019. And we're hoping to come to New York, but then others are grateful because they're working on whichever side of the world that they're in and are happy to tune in virtually and be a part of panels virtually. So now, sorry, Jonathan, I will go back to you. I would like to find out the thought process behind this series about this man and his friend, this unicorn, which is very funny.
Okay. Well, I started thinking about the series 5 years ago when I moved into this condo I'm living in. It was my first time living alone, and I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to do some show about like my experiences as a new homeowner, but that would be boring. So I think I knew something had to spice it up. So it's sort of autobiographical, but I have this unicorn. It's kind of my conscience, kind of like the bad and not, yeah, sort of like the immature side of my personality, kind of manifested into this unicorn form. And yeah, it's just been a fun way to explore like this new environment I'm living in.
And now with your series, have you been doing the festival circuit? Has it been, I'm assuming virtual. I don't know how long Unicorn Included has been out, but what has your experience been like with a festival, with a show like that?
So
I imagine almost that there's like to watch it, even with me being a festival director, there must be a little bit of an appreciation now after these past 2 years for a show like that, with everybody kind of going a bit stir crazy at home.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I have 4 episodes that have been on YouTube since like early-ish 2020. I didn't put too much effort into going into festivals. This is my second festival, and the first one was the Annual Web Fest in 2020. And it got a couple of nominations there. And after that, I kind of took a break from applying to festivals for a little while. But then just on a whim, I applied to this one. So I'm happy to have this as like my second festival experience.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to mute my mic. I start to speak. I was just wondering if you guys could speak a bit about. So I'll tell you what one of the reasons I wanted to do this panel. So I left and headed for New York and started this festival as things, probably right before things were starting to change, right? I was part of the traditional system where an agent got you that audition. You know, social media was just kind of taking off. There wasn't this independent thing you could do if you didn't see yourself on camera, certainly not be a director. You know, it was you needed a really good agent. So I wanted to know when things started to turn around, if you've been doing this for a long time, if you worked in traditional TV. I know some of you were in advertising, and how this opened doors for you, or if it was just like a pet project because you already worked, say, in network television before. I'm wondering, Danny, how you got into this medium for web series. U-hauling is excellent, by the way. It's multi-nominated, so congratulations there too.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so actually I haven't been working that long in cinema or television. I finished school in 2016. And it was while I was in school at university that I wrote You Alling, actually. And it was like one of the prompt of the course. We had to select money, a place where we wanted to apply for money. And I chose to do it with web series because ever since I started doing short films when I was 17, web series were starting to be kind of popular. And I always thought it was a nice medium to start with because you've got like all these small stories inside the bigger narrative. I'm sorry, I'm not used to talking English. In discours dramatique. So yeah, so I was very interested in the medium and the way that it is both short and long at the same time, and you can explore a lot in it. And also, of course, as you were saying, there is a lot of minorities represented in web series. I think that drew me to it too.
That's wonderful. I have a question. For those of you, could you put your hands up who just did this independently without any funding or network? Is there anybody? Okay, so Jonathan and Phil, I wanted to speak to you. Is your project, was it with CBC GEM?
No, we were funded through the IPF
sure.
here in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it is it on a distribution platform now, or were you guys just doing the festival circuit?
Both. Right now, it is on. I run like a kind of social media and mobile app platform that.
Oh yes. I wanted to speak to you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's up there. It's also, I believe, in Canada only on iTunes. As part of the IPF, when you apply for the IPF, which is funded a couple different sources, but mostly by Bell Media. You need to have a distributor on board in the application process. So we had a company here in Toronto called Level Film that did it through iTunes for us. And then, yeah, right now we're just kind of doing the festivals before we look for international stuff.
And now for it doesn't prohibit you from applying for international or getting international distribution, does it? Or
no, not as yet. It's just nothing we have is exclusive. Particularly for my platform, like we own it, so we can, you know what I mean. If we ended up getting
that's great.
Somewhere else, we can just take it down from there. But no, it hasn't really come up because we've at least for iTunes, I believe, which is the uncensored version. It's just up in Canada, I think.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Now I'm going to speak to Josiane. I know she is a relative. Sorry, can you hear me? I hope you're very enlightened about what you didn't hear me say. Josiane, I wonder if I could bring it over to you. I know from our Instagram Live the other night, you were saying that you're a relatively new filmmaker. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I started in TV 5 years and a half ago. This is my first series that I've done, and I've done short films before that. I've done like 3 or 4 short films before that, but it was the first time that I did a web series, like episodic.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And for this, for your show, I mean, you had to direct children. I know you said 2 of the cast members, or young people, I shouldn't say children. Oh no, Liam was little. I remember. Yeah. How old?
He was 4 years old when
Darling.
Yeah, he is adorable.
Wow. So you had to direct children and young people, and for a project like that, like, I know it starts with the script, but did you have to have such excellent actors? And I know, like you mentioned the other day, some of them were new. I mean, how did you go about just bringing all of that together? Because you had a pretty big cast to deal with.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. We didn't start small with my producing partner, Anya, definitely. So we had about 20 cast members and 40 backgrounds to cast. We did a lot of, we had a casting director that helped us a little bit, but at the end of the day, most of the cast we did end up finding ourselves. So we did posting on social medias. For some of the characters, it was harder to find them, like the actor who plays Patrick, who's Asian teenager. So we contacted everybody, both Anya and I. We talked to our friends, we talked to theater schools, we talked to basically everyone in the French community. For people who don't know, we're Francophones based in Ontario. I'm based in Toronto, and the story happens in Toronto. But there's not as many French-speaking actors because the series is mainly in French. And there's not as many French-speaking actors in Toronto, especially when we go for younger actors, as we're looking for teens or young adults who could play teens. So we definitely did a lot of outreach ourselves through schools and everything to find our cast. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I'm going to, because I want to speak to the impressions that I think people get from looking at places like Canada or Australia when it comes to funding. I think that there's this illusion that there's just like buckets of money and it's really easy to access and it's not political at all, which I know from Australian creators that it is. So I'm wondering if I'm going to go to Ben with this, because I know you've been doing web series for a long time. Like, how easy is it with the funding, and how difficult, and does it have any bearing on what you write and come up with? I mean, I've read a script. A friend of mine was like, well, I wrote for this particular budget. And I just remember thinking, well, just like write, why don't you just write what you want to write and then see what happens? But maybe there was a method to that, what I thought was madness. So I'm curious, when you go to create something, because I know you've been doing this a long time, how much of what funding could I or could I not get factors into that?
I think in the last couple of years, it changed a lot, because when I started in 2012, and it was just the beginning of the funds for web series. So it was so much easier. Nobody knew what to do, even the funds, you know. It's like, it was just an open window for new creative, and there were not so much people. So it was kind of more easy. Now I think it's really more difficult. It comes more closer to create a movie or a short film, because now people start to understand that they can easily do it. You know, the way of shooting, the way of writing, it's so much easier, I found today, because there's so much example that you can get inspired by. Before, it was just the beginning of web series, so we didn't know, is it a movie? It's a mix between movie and maybe TV, you know, because it's small episode. So, but I think today I'm glad, because I'm slowly moving towards TV. I think web series is a great medium to learn yourself as an artist or as a writer, director, or producer, how to create. But at one point, you want to maybe make more money in your life, so you have to go to TV or movie. But right now, I see that there's so much more creative, so much more writers, so much more director. So I think it's still the best, for me, it's still the best medium for young creative, because it's so much quicker. If you have the idea, you apply to the funds, you get the answer, and you can shoot almost in the same year, compared to create a TV show. Sometimes it took just 2 years to write it. So it's quicker, I found. But I wouldn't say it's easier today. I don't know if Lou would agree with me, but...
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I was going to say, Ben, speaking of buckets of money, let's go to my friend Lou. No, I'm just joking. I'm saying that because we're friends. I'm just saying that.
Okay,
Lou, I was wondering, speaking of millions of dollars, I'm just kidding. I'm wondering if you could speak to that as well, to that point of...
Yeah, but
how much of what you're creating is like based on a budget that you believe that you can get, or are you just creating?
Just to answer a simple question, like, not only did our company didn't make any penny out of web series, we had to invest a lot. The least I had, my partners and I had to invest was like 25,000, and the most was like $150,000. So it's not about making money. It's about having access to funding. But through the last years, and Ben, you know about that, it's like 150 projects that are submitted, and they take like 7 or 10 or something like that. So it was really about a bit of competition to try to have the best project possible with the best team possible. It's also about the freedom. You made a joke about money. Money is one of the tools that can brings you freedom for the business or for a project or creatively. So I've always been looking for freedom, and that's where we got our start with web series, because the freedom was there. It was a lot of hard work. It was my children university money that I was investing in those projects. But but it can be a stepping stone. While I was doing it, I never envisioned it totally as a stepping stone, but it's a way to prove yourself. It's like amateur sports before turning pro, if I can get away with that metaphor.
That's a great metaphor, and it actually brings me to sort of the next thing I wanted to speak to you guys with. And actually, Lou, I'm going to start with you. I'm wondering if you guys can speak of your experience in the festival circuit. Like, you know, I'm friendly with you guys, so I know you've traveled and gone to festivals and gone to France. And so I'm wondering if you can speak about, if you could speak to the Canadian sort of perception overseas. I mean, like, I don't know if me being Canadian has any bearing on the success of the Canadians in this festival, because we've changed jury members every year. I've gone through a few different program directors. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have different people that view the projects. I don't know if, I think it helps that I was born in South Africa and grew up somewhere else and then lived somewhere else. So your perspective is a little bit different and sort of rife for what I think that like a New York City crowd would like. This is obviously when the festival was in person. It's definitely a city where people appreciate all sorts of different avant-garde and different type of art. So I'm just wondering, Lou, if you could start. I'll start with you with your experience with the festival circuit and just how in particular French Canadian content is received.
A couple of things. I want to be brief because I want other persons to have the chance to express themselves on that matter also. But the fact that we're a French speaking minority, and the fact that we are really close to America and the United States, it brings to the table kind of a unique mix. And I was speaking about freedom earlier. We tried to do some stuff that represent what we were going through, our life experiences, stuff that we like, that we subject matters that we wanted to address that weren't necessarily portrayed in regular TV here in Quebec or Canada. So I think it brought kind of a freshness to the whole mix, and it proved what I cherish the most about being able to travel is to have the opportunity to see other series from Australia, Colombia, Argentina, Korea, Morocco, and all over the world, sometimes not understanding at all the language, but getting the story, feeling the emotions of the characters. So it made me realize that, the times they are changing, the world is changing, and emotions are emotions. A good story is a good story, no matter where it's coming from, no matter where it was produced. So it kind of gave us a little bit of win in the sales to say, okay, we can work with people locally, with regional subject matters and realities, and be confident that it can find an audience, some audiences worldwide.
That's great, and that brings me to sort of it's sort of a two-pointed question for all of you guys. I'm going to start with Phil. For your project, for example, like what are you hoping to do with it now that it's out there in the world? Or, you know, I know it's not internationally distributed yet, but I'm sure that it will be. It's very funny. And I think universal, you know. I know that we're already at the half-hour mark, although we started like a couple of minutes late. So hopefully, because I really want to speak about all of your experiences with what you would like to do with this project or what you're hoping to achieve, whether it be festival or distribution, but also about casting, because that's where I think the Canadian projects are sort of really leading the way. Like, you know, obviously the festival's in New York, and we've gotten some projects as submissions. It's like, are there really like no people of color in this New York neighborhood? That's not what the streets look like, man. I live there. So I want to speak about casting, but before then, I would like to talk about what you guys are hoping to do either with the festival circuit or with your projects in particular.
Yeah, so the intent with ours was always, originally we actually wrote it as a half-hour pilot. Right now, the intent, we really did this. We wanted to use the format because I think it's really good for comedy, especially. And we wanted to kind of do it as sort of like a grand proof of concept. So right now, we have some producers putting together basically the way it's working. And I think this is probably a similar experience to what a lot of other Canadians are trying to do right now, because of stuff like Schitt's Creek and Letterkenny and Kim's Convenience and that sort of stuff. Particularly in comedy, there is an appetite, particularly south of the border, to find, you know, Canadian creative. So right now what we're doing is a lot of the way it's going to work is we have some producers on board and we're developing it for the half hour. And what that's going to look like is putting together, basically you need kind of three partners. You need kind of a Canadian production company, maybe a distributor, and then some US private investment. So right now we're actually we just started the pitch phase like this week. We're just finishing kind of our visual deck, and we'll be going out to, you know, the streamers and all that kind of stuff. So the producers we have on board they really know kind of how to use the Canadian soft money and put together the the international packages that you need just to build that. It's very difficult to get like something as large as a full season of television funded here just with Canadian money. So you kind of got to build, you know, if you can get one distributor, and then that way you own the IP as well. Like you can sell it to a Netflix and they'll make it, and they'll pay you and it's great. But they, you know, when you're using a Netflix or an Amazon, they basically own it at that point, which is fine. You know, it's certainly an option, but we're kind of first looking for putting together a package so that we can make kind of season one of the half hour version and still kind of retain as much ownership as we can of it.
That's amazing. Thank you. Jonathan, what about you? Like, was this just something you guys, you know, you wanted to do? You bought this home, you came up with this funny concept. Mm-hmm. Are you trying to do more with it, or was it just, you know, something you wanted to create and see how it went?
Yes, we definitely want to do more with it. The timing was really bad because the first four episodes came out just as the pandemic started. Like without that, we might have already done more, but obviously that put a big stop to us. I'm definitely open to doing more episodes independently if I get a pile of money. I am also working on pitch documentation to take it to CBC Gem and possibly other outlets as like a longer form web series.
That's great.
Like if these 4 episodes are all there are and it was just like a proof of concept, fine, but I definitely would like there to be more of the series.
That's great. And Danny, what about you? Like I know you had mentioned you've been working on U-hauling for a while. is this to lead to other projects, or did you want to do more with U-hauling? It's again, it's very compelling, and the way you guys left it was kind of open-ended. If you wanted a season 2, or if you just wanted to just show your work.
I thought it was close-ended. I thought it ended like closely, but yeah, the goal was always to do like really just one season, because I was really inspired by like Fleabag and how Phoebe Waller-Bridge said that she would not do a second season, and then she was like compelled to do it because she had an idea. And I was really into the fact that like this is a story that starts and ends, and it's all right with like that. And I was really trying to make my mark in the industry here in Montreal, and like prove that I was able to write and direct something that made sense and that was good. So that was the main point of it. And I also wanted to create queer content, because I think it's always like lacking. There's always, and especially in the funding competition, if you want, like there will be one queer project that's retained, and then it's the best one. So like I just wanted to add my perspective in that, and try to create content that would reach queer people here in Montreal and overseas. Festival wise, I just wanted to do the most of them possible.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, and when I even when I say open-ended, I don't even mean the story. I just meant like Jasmina. Like you just it's you kind of wonder like what will happen to this person, what will happen to this character. So yeah, but her performance was excellent. So that's why I brought that up. And Benoit, what about you? I know that you're working on a bunch of different things. I read your bio; it was impressive. I'm only teasing. And so I know you're working on a bunch of different things. Was this the final season? Am I allowed to ask that for just the two of us?
Yeah.
It was? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
It was the final season. It was my first shoot in COVID style also. And
yeah, I remember that.
And I was so disappointed at the beginning because there's so much, they're supposed to make love, they're supposed to kiss, and you're not allowed to do it. So as a director, you have to rethink completely the way of showing it. So it was hard, and you have to rethink. So I wouldn't have probably do it that way without the COVID, but I'm happy of the result,
Right.
How to cheat the kiss, how to cheat, how they get closer. But for me, it's about toxic relationship and how far you can go and without and still being blind, and she, like the main character, she waits till her best friend is accused of a murder to realize that she's with the wrong guy, so she has to go that far to understand. So yes, it is the end, but what I wanted to say earlier is that it's so, web series is so important for us. I didn't want to say that it's a process before the feature or the TV, but me, I got so much contact with the festival and the web series. Like Fluffy Marquee, that was one of the biggest success we got. When we won in Hollywood, we got a call from an agent that wanted to represent us.
Right.
And wanted to sell as a TV show to Disney, So we are in the web series world, and this could happen. So it's all connected now. And for the other show that we won at your festival last year, Best Thriller, Off, we made from the web series, we create a feature film, and we applied to festival, and we won in San Diego Kids Film Festival. So a web series could become a feature, and it could become a TV. So it's all medium about telling a story, and I think it's web series. It's the coolest and it's the lightest universe. I mean, like if you go to a movie festival, it's another level of it's so much
ego.
cooler, simpler. It feels like you open to every genre, every kind of creator.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to have still this. I think it's a really important medium to create.
Thank you for bringing up that show because Josiane is next. But one thing you guys both have in common is your direction, especially for that series that you're speaking of children. Like that whole cast of Off was kids. And with Josiane's project as well, I mean, it's these young people and their shenanigans. Not that there isn't a deep story attached to it, because there is. How difficult is that for both of you? I'm going to be asking Josiane as well to direct kids like that. It was just so engaging.
I think because I start with kids series like in 2013, 13, 14. Mm-hmm. Somehow it seems something that we hear a lot because in the 90s, kids were not that good. But today, with all the media, I guess they learn so quick how to represent themselves or to be connected to them, you know? So
yeah, that's very true.
It's not difficult for me. I found it easier because it's the more, you know, when I have to direct a kid, I like to tell them right at the spot, you know, not doing too much practice so they can intellectualize. Kids are so spontaneous in the way of acting. So I like to do something right away so they jump with who they are, with their heart. But for me, I don't see much of a difference, except that they're often more nicer than, you know.
Less ego.
Adult, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So, Josiane, if you could talk a little bit about also directing young people, but also what you hope to achieve with Hogtown and the festival circuit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, you know, the youngest, as you mentioned before, the youngest cast on my on Hogtown was 4 years old, and it was a very interesting experience because it was my first time working with a kid, and I don't have a lot of experience working with kids at all. So that was very stressful for me. And I was asking questions too. They were like, usually we cast them older and make them look like 4. So we're hoping to find an 8-year-old that actually looks like a 4-year-old. And that's not what happened. But actually, Jamal, who plays Liam, is an amazing natural actor. So he doesn't see the camera. He's really into character. Even when we were talking to his mother, he really saw a difference. When he was on set, he was Liam. And when he was at home, he was Jamal. And then, you know, at some point we had this funny moment where we had to redo one small scene with him because the day before it wasn't working. And the actress who plays his mom on set wasn't there. And he had a blockage because we put his real mom in front of him. And it was like, no, that's not the right person who's in front of me. I can't play. She's not my mom in the show. So it was like, he's just a born actor, which was really fun. And I think that what I learned through that experience is that for him was really a game, and it was really fun. And we would just like, he was really good at remembering all these lines and everything. So, you know, his mom would practice once or twice at home with him, and then she'll bring him on set, but she wouldn't practice so much, but he would know the line, and then we would just do it on set, which worked out really well. In terms of the series in and of itself, I mean, we started recently the festival route circus. We've been accepted in a few festivals, won some prizes, which we're really excited about at Sydney and other festival, which is really fun. We do have an international distributor, and we have 2 broadcasters. Yes. So we are on TV5 right now, but we're going on TFO as well in December in Canada, the French TVO. And we're hoping for a second season.
That's great.
I got some funding to start writing. I just have to do it, basically. So that's another story, but I'm hoping that there will be, you know, something else happening with the characters, because I think that while it was not necessarily close-ended, I think there's space for more, and a lot of people have been asking us, so what happened after that? So I think that people are definitely curious to know what happens with the family and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, Lou, we had started with you talking a little bit about the festival circuit and the Canadian market. So I just want to switch here quickly before we, you know, because I do want to leave it. My friend's dog is here. Hold on. I do want to find out I want to talk about casting, because like I said, I left from Toronto to New York around the time that things were starting to change. A lot of the times for people of color, we were just sitting at home waiting for our agent to get us auditions, right? And when I say people, I'm sort of representing everyone when I say that. Anybody that is a minority, and you get better by doing. And if you're not acting a lot or only auditioning once in a while, you're not as strong. But what I am seeing from the Canadian projects consistently since starting this festival is amazing acting. And I'm also seeing, especially with the Quebec actors, some crossover. I'll recognize, oh, this person was in Benoit's project, this was in Lou's project. So I do, which is great because they're working. That older Black woman is working. I think that's important to see because we weren't seeing it. I wasn't seeing it growing up, and I wasn't getting these auditions for myself. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about casting. I know a few of your projects have been in the festival. They're all diverse. I want to get to everybody before we close out. I just want to know if you could talk a little bit about the process of casting for your projects.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to say that I come from what you guys call in English interracial marriage. So my wife is from Quebec, but she's got some Senegalese background. Her father's from Senegal, so we got mixed children. My brother-in-law is an historian and an activist on Black history here in Quebec and in Canada. So it was always kind of a sensibility we had regarding casting, but it's also that I also come from the hip hop community here in Montreal and in Quebec, and it's like the people were hanging out with our friends and what our day-to-day life looks like wasn't what was going on television on screens. So it was kind of strange, like how come our day-to-day, our reality, and the ones of my friends from different cultural backgrounds aren't put forward in programs and shows. So we kind of did for a lot of those projects kind of really candid approach to casting. It's like we were searching everywhere, non-actors, singers, rappers, whatever, people who had something to bring to the table, and we're trying to make kind of bouquet. I don't know if the word is right, like a flower bouquet, is that right? But just kind of a balance between well-known and experienced actors and comedians and newcomers. So it was all about being real, represent the realities that we're surrounded with, and maybe not take the traditional route when it comes to casting, to be more real as opposed to what others are doing, I guess.
Yeah, that's very, very true, and it stands out. It shows in the work. It's very colorful. All of your productions that we've screened. I'm wondering, like for Phil and Jonathan, you both are sort of the leads in your projects, and you're not hiding who you are. And I'm wondering, Phil, if you could talk a little bit about that and the casting of yourself in this role, and just sort of because you co-wrote as well, correct? On this project?
Yeah. So we, the other actor in the series is him and I have been friends since we were very young, and we've been collaborating on different film projects for years. So we both wrote it. I directed 5 episodes. He directed 5 episodes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of casting me, that kind of sucks. I'm not traditionally an on-camera person, but I mean, I think that is kind of speaking to the point that you're making, is like, it's not, this was a fairly light comedy, but I mean, I think we did want to get a little bit of my perspective in there, because I do think it's something that, you don't often see. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people with, various disabilities or people of color. Anything is, you don't, that's been the whole point, is you haven't seen yourselves represented necessarily. So while it was a bit of a struggle to get myself on camera, the show is very much based on, the characters are not us, but very much the friendship in the show is based on our friendship. So it really didn't make sense to do anything else. And yeah, and I think it was, to your earlier comment about how things are changing. I mean, I think particularly in Canada here, like the opportunity is there, I think, more so than it ever has been. So you're getting an opportunity to see some stories that you wouldn't have seen before. And for me at the same time, like, I'm not just interested in if I'm doing a project that has my perspective, it's not like that's the point of the project. Like the point of this is the comedy. It's funny. It's about friendship. And I think that is something that you don't see a lot when it comes to representation. Is often these more diverse projects will be about that diversity. Like the point of the project is the diversity, which it definitely has value. But I think what you're seeing more of is that's an aspect. But we're not just doing it for the sake of like, oh, hey, let's tell a story we haven't seen. Like the project on its own is a comedy or a thing about family or
Right.
what have you. Yeah.
There's a sensitivity now in projects in general, like television, film, that I just don't think was done before. And I really believe that this web content affected it way more than we realize. I mean, I was watching web series before having the festival. Like, it's just something that drew me, and I'm not Generation Z. You know what I mean? I'm not TikToking. I just somebody that's like, oh, this is entertaining. I remember writing to, again, before NYC Web Fest was a thing, to certain projects or shows that I'd seen on YouTube going, are you guys doing a season 2? Like, I was just a fan, or maybe I was fed up with TV. And it's like, you watch some things now from the 80s and 90s, and I mean, it's brutal. It's so cringeworthy. It's so offensive. And I mean, they were, shows we liked. You watch like how it's like, and just knowing a bit about some of the shows, like that was a Black writer that wrote that show that a network head was like, make it more Black, and it's like, it's cringe. It's so stereotypical. It's offensive. And so now I think that, but it's important that I think that you put yourself in the show as well, even though, I mean, I suppose you could have had another actor play you, but I think that there's a vulnerability there. And even though you guys were playing versions of yourself, the friendship does show that there's a chemistry there. So thank you for that. So Jonathan, what about you? What made you decide to put yourself in it, and how important was that to have that representation?
So as I was writing the show, I was going back and forth like 50-50 on if I wanted it to be myself or not. I mean, there are definitely like autobiographical elements.
Mm-hmm.
And like Phil said, like, just we don't see enough of this kind of diversity on screen. So I did feel it was kind of important to, make that happen, since like I had the power to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like Phil, it's certainly not the point of the show. Like, my show is very light and apolitical and just goofy unicorn shenanigans, basically. It's something that might play more a part in the show, like if we get a bigger
if you continue.
Yeah.
No,
but I was very happy to have the opportunity. It was an actor production, but because of the deal, like, I got to be in the show despite not being actor, like everyone else was of the union.
Right. Yeah. And now, I know we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. So, Danny, I'm wondering if you could talk about casting in U-hauling as well. And was this a vast net that you had to, to get, because everybody was so talented as well in your project? I'm wondering if you could talk about that, please. Oh, there's Lou.
Of course. I actually, it was kind of different techniques. Jasmina I knew from school, and she was part of the project from day one. So that was relatively easy. But then when it got to casting for the guy couple, so for Laurent and Loic, it was really hard because we were in COVID, and I still wanted them to have like an intimacy. So we went by Instagram and tried to find an actual couple that could play them. And that's what happened. So So that was great. They had great chemistry because of it. And I think Xavier, who plays Loic, was a bit younger. And I think that having Dominique with him really helped him to be more free in his acting.
Right.
And then for the rest of the acting, the actors we were trying to find in the agency, but I was really trying not to cast only white people because, as you said, I mean, it's like I don't walk in the street and see only white people. So
Yeah.
I was browsing through the agencies, and just doing that was so long because you go through an agency and they have maybe 2-3 person of color, and you just have to like search and search to find someone that fits the character and that fits the brief. So that was kind of hard, and it made me realize that we need to be like even higher up with casting directors, and the agencies need to actually step up to help us do that, because we have, I think most creators have the volonté, they have the will to do it, but they don't have the means to do it because of the way the industry is set up.
Yes, for sure. Benoit, can you talk a little bit about your casting? I know you've done it all, but can you talk a little bit about the casting process for your projects?
Yeah, I think what you were talking a little bit before, I think it's changing a lot right now because all the network in Quebec, they asked to have a different kind of cast. And before me, when I was in advertising, also the client was asking for it, but they didn't have much. You know, you can ask for minority or for people of color, but if you don't see the talent that represent the cast that you're looking for, it's hard when you don't have enough choices. And the people from Quebec, maybe they didn't want to go become an actor because they didn't have any much opportunity. And I think it's changing right now with series like Amour d'Occasion or Blue, where there's black people that become good writer, that's working on other stuff that go already on TV. You know, it's helping. It's right what you're saying, that we have great stories with different kind of people. So why not on TV? You know, TV is so wide and different in many network. So as I think as an adult, it's more easy to have a different kind of cast. We have a little bit more choice. I remember with Off, the season of last year, we wanted to have, but we couldn't find in some range of age, you know, because there's not opportunity. So how can you find it? You have to know people. It's hard. That's why in the States, I guess it's easier because when they do a feature or they do a movie, they have the whole States to find some people of color. Here, us, you know, you need, like Danny said, in the acting agency that you're looking for actor, they don't have much yet, but I think it's growing, and I think it's changing a lot. It's in the contract. Like I signed a contract with a major network, and they say, we want people of minority in the cast. You know, it's something that they understand now. They cannot be only white, only if the story it happened, but diversity as much as possible. So for me,
that's wonderful.
For me, just the two of us, it's actors that I didn't cast. The Noemi, the girl, I saw her in a short film of Sophie Dupree, and I knew it was her, so I asked only her to do the cast, and she was right. And Sacha Charles, nice. I saw him. He had the energies. I like, sometimes that the actor has the energy of your cast. I don't particularly like the process of seeing 20 people it's not fun. So when I know it's right, I meet the person, and if the chemistry happened between me and him, this is how the cast was done, I just knew they were them.
Yeah, it's so funny how Sacha has such a distinct look, but it's in such different characters from just the two of us to Dog Days, right? Luke, but you worked with Sacha first, is that right, Ben? Before you worked with him?
Sacha was in Amour d'Occasion, I think.
Yes.
And But me, I did before him. Just the
Yeah.
season 1 was before Amor d'Occasion.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we are going to close out soon, but Josiane, I'd love to talk about casting, your project as well, before we close out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try and be brief. I think for us, it was very important that obviously there was a lot of representation. Lauren, you come from Toronto, and Toronto is super diverse, and we really wanted to represent that in our cast. But one of the things that we did is that the casting was open, which means that for a few roles it was specific, but for most of the roles it was open to anyone. And the reason why we did that is that I often meet actors from, people of color or diversity who would say that they cannot even get access to auditions because the roles are often so specific. We're looking for a white girl, a blonde girl, so they never get access to one of the first roles. And for us, we like to say, my producing partner and I, that, this family in the center of the story happens to be Black, but that story is universal, and it could have been a Chinese family, it could have been a Cuban family, it could have been anybody, a white family, and it just works. So when there's nothing specific to it, we just open it and find surprises. And sometimes some people who applied for one role, we ended up giving them the other role because we thought they fit better. But this way, people really feel that they can come in, and we're trying to be very inclusive. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things we did is that, I really strongly believe that when you're looking for someone, there's at least one person that's going to fit that role. So as I said before, we were looking for Patrick. We went through schools. We went through everybody. I wrote to every single of my friends. I told them to write to their friends. We were looking for him everywhere in Ontario and Quebec. We finally found him at 2:00 in the morning, 3 weeks before starting. He never acted before. And he was like, I think you're looking maybe for me. And then we're like, yes. And then we hired an actor to help him learn how to act before we started. So I think it's always possible. We have to put the effort, but it is difficult. As the people mentioned, we've been through all the sites. We've looked for everybody on every single casting site. We went on the union site. We looked at every single pictures, and then some people are not there. So there is more work to do definitely in that field.
Definitely.
But I think that, representation is important, and that we need to do that extra work for sure.
We definitely need to do that extra work. And I think what's great for these actors is that they're being recognized at festivals like this, right? So we added more, this is the most performance award categories we've ever had. We've never had, I don't think, best ensemble the same time as dynamic duo. It's usually one or the other. And I mean, four of the categories are non-gender specific. So we had vocal performance, ensemble, dynamic duo, and youth performance, which was new thanks to your series and a few others that had a bunch of great kids. And so it gives, that type of nomination. I'm not trying to brag about the festival, but I feel like that's a great thing for someone to have, because then they get an agent. I know what it's like. It's hard to find an agent or someone that takes you seriously. So especially when you're young and starting out. So I think that's great. It's amazing. But I just want to thank all of you for today. This was my first time moderating. I hope I did okay. I wanted to ask specific questions. The one thing I didn't get to was some of you actually used the location as part of the storyline. Like obviously with Toronto being in Josiane's project, and also Lou has definitely used the mean streets of Montreal, like for Dog Days last year. So I just want to thank you all for being a part of this. And for those of you who are watching, you can find these series. They are available to rent on demand for 7 days, which is great. That's the one nice thing about doing this virtually, is that people can take their time watching and, find out a bit more about the creators. So thank you guys. And I will see you online again. I know I will see some of you later on very soon at another panel. So thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.